The massive chamber floated in the darkness of space, orbiting a world that glowed purple and gold. Inside, representatives from 73 alien species gathered around a circular platform. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few looked like walking crystals. They all stared at the small screen showing a blue planet far away. Earth. Ambassador Yuna stood in the center, her hands trembling slightly. She wore a simple gray suit, looking plain compared to the decorated aliens around her. She had been speaking for 20 minutes, showing images of Earth's art, music, and scientific achievements. Nobody seemed to care. "Please understand," Yuna said, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. "My people want only peace. We have much to offer the galaxy. Our medical research, our agricultural methods, our enough." The voice came from the highest seat. Council Prime Velthar looked like a giant insect, with 4 eyes that gleamed like black glass. His mandibles clicked together as he spoke. "We have heard enough about your primitive accomplishments." Yuna's jaw tightened. "Primitive? We have cured diseases, sent probes to distant stars, and you have been in space for what? 300 of your years?" A reptilian creature named Warmaster Kryn laughed, showing rows of sharp teeth. "My species was building stargates when your ancestors were living in caves." The chamber filled with similar laughter. Yuna felt her face grow hot with anger and shame. She wanted to scream at them, to tell them how humanity had survived ice ages, wars, plagues, and extinction events. But she stayed quiet. That was her job. Stay calm. Represent Earth with dignity. Velthar raised one clawed limb, and the laughter stopped instantly. "The truth, human, is simple. Your planet sits on something we need. A convergence of rare elements necessary for faster-than-light travel. Without it, our civilization will stagnate." Yuna's blood went cold. "You can negotiate with us. We can share." "Share?" Velthar's mandibles spread wide in what might have been a smile. "Why would we share with a species that cannot defend itself? You have small ships, with chemical rockets, cute weapons that split atoms. Nothing that could challenge even our oldest vessels. We are not your enemy," Yuna said desperately. "We are new to the stars. Give us a chance to prove ourselves as allies." Kryn leaned forward, his yellow eyes fixed on her. "Your species has a saying, does it not? Survival of the fittest. We are the fittest. You are not. This is how the universe works." Around the chamber, alien heads nodded. Some looked sympathetic, but none spoke in Earth's defense. Yuna realized with growing horror that this was not a trial or negotiation. The decision had already been made. Velthar touched a control panel. "I call for a vote. All in favor of neutralizing the human threat before they develop proper defenses?" 73 lights turned red. Every single one. Even the species that had seemed kind voted against humanity. "The Council has spoken," Velthar declared. "Warmaster Kryn, dispatch your fleets. Eliminate all military installations and space infrastructure. Leave the planet intact for resource extraction." Yuna felt the world spinning. "You are making a mistake. A terrible mistake." "Yuna, the only mistake was allowing your broadcasts to continue for so long," Kryn said. "We should have silenced you decades ago." Security guards moved toward Yuna. They looked like walking armor, their faces hidden behind helmets. She did not resist as they grabbed her arms, but she did manage to touch the small device hidden in her sleeve. One button, a single press, a message sent. As they dragged her from the chamber, Velthar called out, "Your people will be remembered, human, as a cautionary tale about species that grew too loud before they grew strong enough to survive." The doors closed behind her. Yuna found herself in a small white cell with no windows. She sat on the floor and waited. The aliens thought they knew everything about humanity. They had studied Earth's public broadcasts, its open transmissions, its documented history. They saw a species barely united, constantly fighting itself, armed with weapons that seemed laughable compared to galactic technology. But they had not seen everything. Yuna closed her eyes and remembered her briefing before coming to the council. Admiral Day had been there, his face hard as stone. If they vote for war, he had told her, send the signal, then trust us. She had asked what would happen next. Day had simply said, they will learn why predators should fear prey that fights back. Somewhere in the darkness beyond Neptune, hidden in the cold depths of the Kuiper Belt, a ship received Yuna's signal. The message was short. Just 2 words. They came. Admiral Day stood on the bridge of the Phantom, a vessel that existed in no public registry. Around him, officers sat at stations monitoring screens that showed things the Council believed impossible. Quantum drives, gravity weapons, shield technology that bent space-time itself. Behind the Phantom, another 50 ships waited, all invisible to conventional sensors, all armed with technology reverse-engineered from ruins found on Mars 50 years ago, technology that humanity had kept secret, preparing for this exact moment. An officer named Wu turned to face him. Admiral, Council fleet is forming up. They are heading toward Earth. Estimated arrival, 72 hours. Day nodded slowly. He thought about his home, about the cities full of people who had no idea that war was coming, about the children playing in parks, the students in schools, the ordinary humans living ordinary lives. The Council wanted to erase all of that. How long to intercept? Day asked. We can be in position in 60 hours, sir. Then we move now. Day's voice was quiet, but firm. He touched a control, opening a channel to all ships in the hidden fleet. This is Admiral Day. For 50 years, we have prepared. We hoped this day would never come. But hope is not a strategy. The Council has voted to destroy our home, to kill our families, to erase humanity from the stars. He paused, looking at the faces of his crew. Young and old. Men and women from every nation on Earth, united by one purpose. They think we are weak. They think 300 years in space makes us children. They forget that Earth is a planet where every species evolved to survive, where humans climbed from prey to apex predator, where we learned to turn everything into a weapon, even our own atoms. Day's hand hovered over a red button. Activate Protocol Omega. All ships, engage stealth systems, arm all weapons, and send a message to Earth Command. Tell them to evacuate the cities. Tell them we are coming. And tell them that before this is over, the Council will regret ever learning our name. His finger pressed down. Throughout the fleet, ships hummed with power. Drives that could fold space activated. Weapons that could crack moons charged up. And humanity, dismissed as primitive and weak, began its march to war. In her cell, Yuna smiled. She could not see the ships, could not hear the orders, but she knew. Somewhere out there, Admiral Day was moving, and the Council, despite all their technology and all their experience, had no idea what was coming for them. They had made the oldest mistake in the universe. They had mistaken kindness for weakness. And they were about to learn the difference. 50 years earlier, the Mars colony had been small. Just 300 scientists and workers living in plastic domes on the red planet. They drilled for water, grew vegetables in greenhouses, and studied rocks. Normal colony work. Until the day Dr. Hana found something impossible. She had been drilling near Olympus Mons when her equipment hit metal. Not iron or nickel from a meteorite. Processed metal. Manufactured. Ancient beyond measure but still functioning. The dig team spent 6 months carefully excavating what they found. A structure. A vault. And inside, technology that should not exist. General Jin arrived from Earth 2 weeks after the discovery. He was a tall man, with gray hair, and eyes that seemed to see through everything. He stood in the underground chamber, staring at walls covered in symbols that glowed faintly blue. "Can you read it?" he asked Dr. Hana. She nodded, her hands shaking as she held a tablet. It is not really language, more like direct meaning. The symbols put concepts into your mind. It says, this is a warning, a message left by whoever built this. What does it say? Hana read from her notes. They will come. They always come. Species that reach the stars first. They will find you, study you, judge you, and if they fear you might one day challenge them, they will erase you. Prepare. Hide your strength. Survive. Jin was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked, is there more? Yes. Instructions. Blueprints. Technology. Whoever built this wanted the next species that found it to have a chance. Hannah looked at the glowing walls. The symbols suggest this happened to them. They were destroyed by an older civilization. But they left this behind, hoping someone else would survive what they could not. General Jin made a decision that day. He convinced world leaders to fund a secret program, not a military takeover, not a dictatorship, but a quiet, hidden effort to prepare Earth for contact with aliens that might not be friendly. The Global Defense Initiative was born. The program had rules. Everything humanity showed, the universe would be real but outdated. Let aliens see chemical rockets, while humans built quantum drives in secret. Let them see nuclear weapons, while scientists developed gravity manipulation. Appear weak. Appear primitive. Give any potential enemy a reason to underestimate humanity. Dr. Hana led the research teams. They spent decades reverse engineering the Martian technology. Some of it worked, some did not. But piece by piece, humanity built a hidden arsenal that existed in no public database. 50 ships, stealth systems, weapons that turned physics itself into a blade. Now, in the present, that preparation would be tested. The Council fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 300 warships, each the size of a city. War Master Kryn stood on the command deck of the largest vessel, watching screens that showed the small blue planet ahead. Scan for defenses, he ordered. An officer reported back within minutes. They have satellites, nuclear weapons on their planet, some chemical-propelled missiles in orbit. Nothing that can harm our shields. Kryn laughed. Pathetic. This will be over in hours. All ships, advance. Target military installations first. Show them the price of existing where they do not belong. The fleet moved forward like a swarm of metal locusts. They passed Mars, the asteroid belt, Jupiter. Earth's primitive sensors detected them, and the planet went into panic. Cities activated emergency sirens. People rushed to shelters. Governments launched their small defensive fleet. 50 outdated ships that stood no chance. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted 17 minutes. Earth's defenders fired missiles that bounced harmlessly off Council shields. They tried ramming attacks that barely scratched the alien hulls. One by one, the human ships exploded in bright flashes. War Master Kryn nodded with satisfaction. Begin orbital bombardment. Target: New York, Beijing, Moscow, London, Tokyo. Eliminate command centers. The Council ships positioned themselves above Earth's cities. Their weapons charged, gathering energy that would crack buildings and burn everything within miles. In the streets below, people looked up at the sky and saw death approaching. Then the weapons fired. Beams of energy struck the cities. Buildings collapsed. Fires spread. Millions died in the first strike. Earth's defenses tried to respond, but nothing worked. The Council fleet was too strong, too advanced. They circled the planet, destroying military bases, government buildings, and infrastructure. From the dark side of Neptune, Admiral Day watched it happen. Every ship in his hidden fleet monitored the feeds. They saw the destruction, heard the screams, watched their home burn. Sir, Wu said quietly, they are killing civilians. I know. Day's voice was ice. How many people have evacuated to the hidden colonies? 70% of major cities were emptied before the attack. The casualties are mostly military personnel who stayed behind to make the evacuation look real. It was still thousands of deaths. Thousands of brave souls who volunteered to make the Council believe Earth was defenseless and panicking. They had died buying time for the hidden fleets to position themselves. Captain Sung commanded the stealth ship Silent Reaper. She was positioned just outside the Council's sensor range, watching their fleet celebrate. They thought they had won. They had no idea that every human ship they destroyed was outdated technology, piloted remotely, or by skeleton crews who had chosen to sacrifice themselves. Mina, Sung said to her communications officer, activate the quantum network. Link all human forces. Engineer Mina had spent 20 years building a communication system based on quantum entanglement. Messages that moved instantly across any distance. Impossible to jam. Impossible to intercept. She pressed a button, and suddenly every hidden human ship, every secret colony, every prepared defensive position connected as one. Network active, Mina reported. All units responding. We are ready. Back on Neptune's dark side, Admiral Day opened a channel to the entire fleet. The Council thinks they have won. They think we are broken, defenseless. They are wrong. Every species on Earth evolved through competition, through predation, through survival of the fittest. We learned to hunt mammoth, to outlast ice ages, to split atoms and reach the stars. And we learned one more thing. We learned that the most dangerous predator is the one you think is already dead. He looked at his officers. Young faces, determined faces. All ships, decloak, surround the enemy fleet, and remind them that humans are very, very good at one thing. We are good at war. Across the solar system, 50 ships that had been invisible suddenly appeared. They materialized around the Council fleet like ghosts becoming solid. Their weapons were already charged, already aimed. On his command ship, War Master Kryn stared at his sensors in confusion. What is this? Where did these ships come from? An officer's voice was panicked. Unknown vessels. They are using stealth technology we cannot detect. Their energy readings are impossible. Sir, they have quantum-level weapons. Evasive action, raise shields to maximum. But Admiral Day had already given his order. Fire. The human fleet opened up with everything they had. Weapons that did not push through shields, but tunneled around them using quantum mechanics. Projectiles accelerated to near light speed, using gravity manipulation. Energy beams that ignored conventional defenses because they operated on principles the Council thought were only theoretical. Council ships exploded. Not one or two. Dozens. In the first 3 minutes, the alien fleet lost 40% of its vessels. The survivors scattered, trying to regroup. But the quantum network meant human ships coordinated perfectly. Every move the aliens made, humanity countered instantly. War Master Kryn watched his fleet die. This is impossible. Humans are primitive. They have only been in space 300 years. After that, but it was not impossible. It was the result of 50 years of secret preparation, of taking ancient warnings seriously, of appearing weak while becoming strong. The Council had seen what humanity wanted them to see. Now they saw the truth. Captain Sung's Silent Reaper moved through the chaos, its stealth systems still active. She targeted the Council command ships, deploying cyber warfare programs that corrupted their navigation systems. Alien vessels began crashing into each other, unable to tell where they were going. From Mars, Commander Tay launched ground-based railguns, massive weapons that used electromagnetic acceleration to fire projectiles at speeds that turned simple metal into planet killers. The shots crossed the distance to Earth's orbit in seconds, punching through alien hulls like paper. The Council fleet tried to retreat, but they found they could not. The quantum network had created a barrier around the solar system. Not a physical wall, but a field that disrupted faster than light travel. The aliens were trapped. In her cell on the council station, Yuna felt the vibrations through the walls. She knew what it meant. The fight had begun. And humanity, the species everyone dismissed, was winning. The guards outside her cell ran past, shouting in their own languages. Alarms blared. The council had never expected this. Never imagined that the primitive humans could fight back. Yuna allowed herself a small smile. The council had made a fatal error. They had judged humanity by their technology and their time in space. They had not judged them by their history. They did not quote Avord and the Foundations by the fact that humans had been fighting and surviving for millions of years, and now the galaxy would learn what that meant. The battle for Earth's solar system lasted 6 hours. For the Galactic Council forces, it felt like an eternity of hell. War Master Kryn gripped his command chair as another explosion rocked his flagship. Through the windows, he watched his fleet burn. Ships that had served for centuries, vessels that had conquered dozens of worlds, were now floating debris. The humans had done this. The primitives. The species that was supposed to be easy prey. Damage report, he roared. Shields at 30%. Hull breaches on decks 4 through 9. We have lost 70% of our fleet. The officer's voice cracked with fear. Kryn could not believe it. His force had started with 300 ships. Now barely 90 remained functional. And the humans were not slowing down. They attacked from every direction, appearing and disappearing like demons. Their weapons ignored shields. Their coordination was perfect, and their tactics were ruthless. A human voice suddenly filled the bridge. It came through their communication systems, even though those systems should have been secure. The voice was calm, cold. Attention, Council Fleet. This is Admiral Day of the Earth Defense Forces. You came to our home to kill our families. You thought we were weak. You were wrong. Surrender now, or we will show you what humans do to invaders. Kryn snarled. Humans! You are making a mistake. The full might of the Council will come for you. You are only delaying your extinction. There was a pause. Then Day responded, You still do not understand. Come. Send your full might. Send every ship you have. We will be waiting. And we will teach the galaxy a lesson. Never attack Earth. The communication cut off. Kryn turned to his officers. All remaining ships. Form defensive position. We must. An alarm shrieked. His sensors officer shouted, New contacts. Emerging from the asteroid belt. More human ships. These ones were different. Larger. They looked like flying fortresses, bristling with weapons. Commander Tay's Mars Defense Corps had arrived. The ships that had launched from humanity's red planet colony were built for one purpose: defense. But right now, they were on offense. Tay stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Olympus. She had watched the Council attack Earth from Mars, had seen her homeworld burn. Every person on her crew had family on Earth. Every one of them was filled with rage. Target their command ships, Tay ordered. Focus fire. I want those aliens to feel what they made our people feel. The Mars fleet opened fire. Their railguns, massive weapons that used magnetic fields to accelerate projectiles, launched rounds at incredible speeds. The shots crossed space in seconds, hitting Council ships with the force of nuclear weapons. Hulls cracked. Engines exploded. Ships that had survived for 300 years died in moments. One railgun round hit War Master Kryn's flagship directly. The impact threw him across the bridge. Sparks flew from control panels. The lights flickered and died, replaced by emergency red lighting. We cannot win this, his second officer said. We must retreat. We cannot retreat, Kryn shouted back. The quantum barrier prevents faster-than-light travel. We are trapped. Ah, that was when they understood the trap. Humanity had planned this. Let the Council attack. Let them think they were winning. Then surround them. Cut off their escape. And destroy them. In orbit around Earth, Lieutenant Han flew his experimental fighter through the debris field. The Ghost Wing was smaller than other human ships, but it was the most advanced. Han wore a neural interface that connected his mind directly to the ship's systems. Dr. Sora's bioengineering program had enhanced his body, allowing him to withstand forces that would kill a normal human. He pulled 40 G-force turns that should have been impossible. His fighter dodged enemy fire with grace that seemed like magic. Behind him, his squadron followed. Each pilot, enhanced, the same way. They were humans, but they were also more. They were the next evolution. Faster, stronger, deadlier. Han targeted a Council cruiser, firing missiles that split into dozens of smaller warheads. The warheads dodged the cruiser's defensive fire, then struck from 12 different angles simultaneously. The cruiser's shields overloaded. Its hull ruptured. Air and bodies vented into space. Target destroyed, Han reported. Moving to the next. All across the battlefield, the same story played out. Human forces overwhelming alien ships with superior tactics, better coordination, and weapons that the Council had no defense against. It was not even a fair fight. The Council had brought 300 ships expecting to fight primitive humans with outdated technology. Instead, they faced a military force that had spent 50 years preparing for exactly this scenario. Captain Sung's stealth ship, Silent Reaper, had penetrated deep into the Council formation. Her ship was invisible, undetectable. She moved between enemy vessels like a ghost, deploying viruses into their computer systems. The viruses were sophisticated. Created by humanity's best programmers, they corrupted navigation, disabled weapons, and caused friendly fire accidents. Mina, Sung said to her communications officer, how many Council ships have we infected? End quote. End quote. Engineer Mina checked her screens. 43 ships now have our virus. Their systems are failing. They cannot coordinate with each other anymore. Good. Target their command network next. Let us make sure Kryn cannot give any coherent orders. The virus spread through the Council fleet like a disease. Ships that tried to help each other suddenly found their weapons firing on allies. Navigation systems showed false data, causing collisions. Communication channels filled with static and false orders. The Council fleet descended into chaos. War Master Kryn watched his command fall apart. Nothing worked anymore. His ships were not responding to orders. Some were firing on each other. Others were fleeing in random directions. And the humans just kept coming. This is not possible, he whispered. How can a species so young be this advanced? An officer nearby, bleeding from a head wound, answered, maybe we were wrong about them, sir. Maybe they were never as primitive as we thought. Kryn realized the truth then. Humans had deceived them. Let the Council think they were weak. While all along, they had been building weapons in secret. Preparing. Waiting. And when the Council attacked, humanity sprung their trap. Admiral Day watched from his flagship as the Council fleet crumbled. He felt no joy, only grim satisfaction. His people had died today. Cities had burned. Children had lost parents. Parents had lost children. The Council had caused that pain. Sir, Wu reported. Enemy fleet is breaking apart. Most ships are disabled. Some are trying to flee, but they cannot escape the quantum barrier. Good. Day opened a channel to all human ships. All forces, cease fire on ships that have surrendered. But any vessel that continues to fight, destroy it. Show them mercy if they yield, but no mercy to those who continue this war. Throughout the solar system, Council ships began powering down their weapons. They had no choice. They were beaten, trapped. Their fleet was shattered. The humans had won. Dr. Hana watched the battle from a secret facility on Earth's moon. Around her, scientists monitored the new weapons they had created. The weapons based on Martian technology. They had worked better than expected. The Council had stood no chance. But Hana knew this was just the beginning. The Council would not accept this defeat. They would send more ships, more forces. This battle was won, but the war had only started. She activated a communication channel to Admiral Day. Admiral, I am activating Pandora's array. We need to make sure the Council understands what will happen if they come back. Do it. Day confirmed. Hana pressed a series of buttons. Across the solar system, hidden satellites came online. They had been placed years ago, waiting for this moment. The satellites generated gravitational waves, artificial gravity wells, mini black holes that lasted only seconds, but were powerful enough to crush anything nearby. The remaining Council ships that had not surrendered suddenly found themselves pulled toward points in space that should have been empty. Gravity itself became a weapon. Ships were compressed, crushed, turned into balls of scrap metal smaller than cars. In seconds, another 20 Council vessels were destroyed. The message was clear. Even if you survived the battle, Earth had weapons you could not imagine. Weapons that turned physics into death. War Master Kryn's flagship was disabled, but still intact. Human soldiers in advanced armor boarded it, moving through the corridors with weapons ready. The Council crew did not resist. They had seen what humans could do. Fighting was suicide. Admiral Day himself led the boarding party. He found Kryn on the bridge, slumped in his command chair. The reptilian warrior looked old suddenly. Defeated. You are Admiral Day, Kryn said. It was not a question. I am. How? How did you do this? Your species has only been in space for 300 years. Day looked at him without pity. We found a warning, left by a species that came before. They told us you would come. They told us to prepare. We did. We spent 50 years getting ready for this day. We built weapons, created new technology, trained our forces, all in secret, all while letting you think we were primitive. Kryn laughed bitterly. So, we were deceived, tricked into underestimating you. Yes. And now you will pay the price. Day signaled his soldiers. Take him into custody. He will stand trial for war crimes, for the deaths of innocents on Earth. As soldiers led Kryn away, the War Master looked back. This is not over, human. The Council has thousands of ships. They will come for you. Day smiled coldly. Let them come. We will be ready. And this time, we will not wait for them to attack. This time, we are coming to them. 6 weeks after the Battle of Sol, the galaxy learned to fear humanity. Council Prime Velthar sat in his chambers on Viridian Prime, staring at reports that made no sense. 7 Council worlds had fallen. Not to a massive invasion fleet, not to overwhelming numbers, but to small groups of human ships that appeared without warning, struck with precision, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. How is this possible? He demanded of his advisors. Humans have 50 ships. We have thousands. An advisor, a floating jellyfish-like creature, responded nervously. They are not fighting like we expected, Prime. They do not engage our fleets in open battle. They appear at worlds we thought were safe, destroy military targets, and leave. Our forces cannot predict where they will strike next. Then send ships to every world. Guard them all. We have tried. But the galaxy is vast. We have colonies across 300 star systems. We cannot defend everywhere at once. And the humans, they seem to know exactly where to hit us. Velthar's mandibles clicked in frustration. The truth was worse than he wanted to admit. Humanity had done the impossible. A species that was supposed to be eliminated had instead become a threat to the entire Galactic Council. Captain June stood on the bridge of the dreadnought, Reckoning. Around him, his crew worked at their stations, monitoring the approach to a Council colony world called Tarsus IV. Intelligence reports said the planet had a military base and a population of 3 billion aliens. Sir, his tactical officer reported, we are in position. The Council fleet stationed here has 60 ships. And how many do we have? June asked calmly. 5 ships, sir. June smiled. Then we have them outnumbered, where it matters. Begin the operation. The human ships did not charge in recklessly. They remained at the edge of the system, launching drones, small, fast machines that zipped toward the planet at incredible speeds. The Council fleet detected them and opened fire, shooting down dozens of drones. But hundreds more got through. The drones did not carry weapons. They carried information. As they entered Tarsus 4's atmosphere, they broadcasted on every frequency. Videos, documents, proof of the Council's crimes, evidence of how the Council had enslaved species, stolen resources, and destroyed civilizations that refused to submit. On the planet's surface, billions of people watched their screens as the truth poured in. The Council had told them that their government was benevolent, that they were protected, that they were free. The human broadcasts showed the lie. They showed conquered species working in slave conditions. They showed planets stripped of resources until nothing lived. They showed executions of leaders who resisted. The civilian population began to riot. Not everywhere, but enough. In cities across Tarsus 4, protests erupted. People demanded answers, demanded freedom. The military garrison tried to maintain order, but they were overwhelmed by the sheer numbers. Then Captain June broadcast a message directly to the planet. People of Tarsus 4, we are humanity. Your Council attacked our world without cause, killing millions of our innocent people. But we do not seek revenge against you. You are not our enemy. Your government is. Your Council is. We offer you a choice. Join us in creating a free galaxy, or remain under the Council's control. The decision is yours. The Council commander on Tarsus 4 ordered his ships to attack the human vessels. But before they could close the distance, something happened. 5 of the Council ships suddenly turned their weapons on the others. Crews that had seen the human broadcasts, crews that had secretly resented the Council for years, mutinied. The Council fleet tore itself apart from the inside, and the human ships barely had to fire a shot. Across the galaxy, the same pattern repeated. Humanity did not conquer worlds. They liberated them. They showed people the truth about their government. They offered freedom, and species that had lived under the Council's boot for centuries began to rebel. On a mining colony in the outer regions, a young alien named Nari watched the human broadcasts on a smuggled device. She had worked in the mines since childhood, digging out rare crystals that the Council used for their technology. She had never questioned it. That was life. But the human messages showed her something different, showed her that other species lived freely, that work was supposed to be rewarded, that life could be better. Nari gathered others who had seen the broadcasts. Together, they overpowered their guards and seized control of the mining facility. When Council ships arrived to retake it, they found human ships already there, protecting the rebels. A Council captain demanded the humans leave. This is an internal matter. You have no authority here. The human ship's captain, a woman named Rena, responded coldly. You made it our matter when you attacked Earth. You declared war on humanity. Now humanity is showing you what that means. These people are under our protection. If you attack them, you attack us. The Council ships hesitated. They had seen what happened to fleets that fought humans. After a long moment, they retreated. Nari watched from the mining facility as the human ships remained in orbit. Why? She asked over an open channel. Why do you help us? We are not human. Captain Rena's response was simple. Because everyone deserves freedom. Because we remember what it was like to be oppressed. And because if we do not stand for others, who will stand for us? Those words spread across the galaxy faster than any Council broadcast could. Humanity was not just fighting a war. They were starting a revolution. Ambassador Yuna had been freed from her cell weeks ago when human forces raided the council station. Now, she worked with a team of diplomats, negotiating with species that wanted to leave the council. Some were afraid, some were angry, some were hopeful, but all of them listened. "We do not want to rule you," Yuna explained at a gathering of alien ambassadors. "We want to work with you. Build something new. A federation where all species have equal voice, where younger civilizations are not destroyed for existing, where strength is not the only thing that matters." An ambassador from a bird-like species asked, "How can we trust you? You are powerful." "Power corrupts," Yuna nodded. "You are right to be cautious. That is why we propose a system of checks and balances. No one species can dominate. Every member gets a vote. Disputes are resolved through discussion, not force. And if humanity ever becomes like the Council, you have the right to stand against us." It was a radical idea. Equality. Democracy on a galactic scale. Many species were skeptical, but they had seen humanity fight, seen them win. If humans truly meant what they said, this could change everything. Back on Earth, Dr. Hana continued her work with the Martian technology. She had discovered something new. The ruins contained star maps, locations of other ancient sites across the galaxy, places where the vanished civilization had left more technology, more warnings, more gifts for whoever found them. She brought this information to Admiral Day. "If we can access these sites, we could learn even more. Maybe even discover what happened to the species that left the warnings." Day studied the maps. "And the Council? Do they know about these sites?" "I do not think so. The ruins were hidden, protected. Only species that were actively looking for help would find them. Then we have an advantage. We can reach these sites before the Council even knows they exist." Day made a decision. "Send expeditions. Quietly. We are winning the war, but we need to ensure we can protect the peace that comes after." On Viridian Prime, Velthar received another report. 3 more worlds had defected to the humans. The Council fleet had been defeated in 4 different engagements. Riots were spreading across dozens of colonies. The carefully constructed empire that had lasted for millennia was crumbling. "We must negotiate," one advisor suggested, "before we lose everything." "Negotiate?" Velthar's voice was filled with rage. "With the humans? After what they have done? They have done only what we tried to do to them." Another advisor pointed out. "The difference is, they are succeeding." Velthar knew the truth. The Council had lost. Not militarily. Not yet. Their fleets still outnumbered humanity's forces. But they had lost the moral war. The information war. Species across the galaxy now saw the Council as oppressors, and humans as liberators. He received a transmission request from Ambassador Yuna. Velthar almost refused it. But curiosity won. He accepted the call. Yuna's face appeared on his screen. She looked different from when she had stood before the Council 6 weeks ago. More confident. Stronger. "Council Prime. Velthar. I am offering you one chance to end this peacefully." "You dare to offer me terms?" Velthar hissed. "I offer you survival. Your empire is dying. Your subjects are leaving. Your military cannot stop us. You have 2 choices. Surrender and stand trial for your crimes, or keep fighting and lose everything, including your life. Humanity cannot govern the galaxy. You are too few. We do not want to govern the galaxy. We want to free it." "There is a difference." Yuna leaned forward. "You made a mistake, Velthar. You thought strength was about military power, about who has the biggest ships and the most weapons. But real strength is about who people choose to follow. And they are choosing us." Velthar cut the transmission. But Yuna's words echoed in his mind. He looked at his advisors, at the reports of failing campaigns and rebellious colonies. The council had stood for 3,000 years. It would not fall to humans. It could not. But deep down, he knew the truth. The council had already fallen. They just had not admitted it yet. In the Sol system, humanity prepared for the final offensive. Admiral Day gathered his commanders: Captain Jun, Commander Tae, Lieutenant Han, Captain Sung, all of them ready for what came next. The council will make a last stand at Viridian Prime, Day told them. They will gather their remaining forces there. It will be the biggest battle of this war. Then we will show them the biggest defeat, Jun said. Day nodded. We move in 2 weeks. Gather every ship, every weapon. Call in every favor from the species we have freed. This ends at Viridian Prime. One way or another, the fleet that arrived at Viridian Prime was the largest gathering of ships the galaxy had ever seen. But it was not just humanity. 50 human vessels led the formation. But behind them came 200 ships from freed species. Birds and reptiles and insectoids who had once served the Council now flew under a new banner. The banner of freedom. Admiral Day stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the Council's homeworld grow larger on the screens. Around the planet, a defensive fleet of 500 ships waited. The Council had called in forces from across the galaxy, stripping colonies of protection to defend their capital. They outnumber us 2 to 1, Wu observed. Numbers do not win wars, Day replied. Strategy does. Determination does. And we have more of both. He opened a channel to all ships in his fleet. All forces, this is Admiral Day. Today we end the Council's tyranny. Today we show the galaxy that no government can survive by fear alone. Fight well. Fight smart. And remember why we are here. For Earth. For freedom. For the future. The fleets collided. Unlike the Battle of Sol, this fight was not one-sided. The Council forces fought with desperation. They knew if they lost here, they lost everything. Their ships threw themselves at the human vessels, accepting casualties to try to break through. But humanity and their allies held. Captain Jun's dreadnought Reckoning exchanged fire with a Council battleship 3 times its size. The enemy ship's weapons hammered his shields, draining them rapidly. But Jun had learned from the best. He maneuvered his ship in close, too close for the battleship's main guns to track, and fired at point-blank range into the enemy's engines. The battleship exploded, taking 2 nearby Council cruisers with it. Commander Tae's Mars Defense Corps used their railguns to devastating effect. Each shot crossed the distance in seconds, punching through hulls and crippling ships. The Council fleet tried to spread out to avoid being easy targets, but that just made them vulnerable to the smaller, faster ships from the freed species who darted in like wolves attacking scattered prey. Lieutenant Han's fighter squadron danced through the chaos. His neural interface made him faster than any normal pilot. He dodged between laser fire and missile swarms, his weapons taking out enemy fighters with precision. His enhanced body handled the stress that would kill ordinary humans. He was not just a pilot anymore. He was a weapon himself. On the surface of Viridian Prime, Council Prime Velthar watched the battle from his command center. The feeds showed his fleet dying. Ships he had commanded for decades were now debris. The defenders of his homeworld were losing. Deploy the planetary defense grid, he ordered. If they want this world, they will pay in blood. Massive weapons installations on the planet's surface activated. Batteries of missiles launched toward the attacking fleet. Energy cannons that could crack moons fired into space. The human and allied ships took heavy damage. 10 vessels were destroyed in the first minute of planetary fire. But Admiral Day had expected this. Captain Sung, execute Operation Ghost. From the shadows of Viridian's moons, Captain Sung's stealth ships emerged. They had been hiding there for hours, waiting. While the Council focused on the main fleet, Sung's Silent Reaper and her sister ships descended toward the planet undetected. They flew low, beneath the defense grid's sensors, and deployed teams of soldiers directly onto the surface. The soldiers, wearing advanced armor and carrying weapons that could cut through reinforced walls, infiltrated the defense installations. They moved with military precision, disabling weapons from the inside. One by one, the planetary defenses went silent. Velthar watched in horror as his last line of defense failed. "How are they doing this? How are they everywhere at once?" An advisor answered quietly. "Because they prepared, Prime. While we grew comfortable in our power, they planned for every scenario. They studied war, while we assumed we had already won it. The Council fleet was breaking. Ships were surrendering or fleeing. The battle that was supposed to be the Council's last stand had turned into a rout. Humanity and their allies pressed forward, surrounding Viridian Prime completely. Admiral Day broadcast a message to the planet. Council Prime Velthar, your fleet is defeated. Your defenses are disabled. You have no options left. Surrender now, and I promise you will face justice, not revenge. Continue to resist, and we will take this planet by force. Choose." In his command center, Velthar looked at his remaining advisors. Some were wounded. All were afraid. He thought about 3,000 years of Council history, thought about the power his species had held, thought about how it had all crumbled in just 3 months because they had underestimated a young species. "They will kill us," one advisor said. "Perhaps," Velthar replied. "Or perhaps they truly mean what they say about justice." He activated the communications system. "This is Council Prime, Velthar. I surrender. I will submit to your terms." On his flagship, Admiral Day allowed himself a moment of relief. The war was over. They had won. Not just militarily, but ideologically. The galaxy had seen humanity fight not to conquer, but to free, to protect, to build something better. "Take Velthar and his council into custody," Day ordered. "Treat them humanely. We are better than they were." 3 days later, the Galactic Council chamber on Viridian Prime was filled again. But this time, it looked different. The high seats, where the council members had sat, were empty. Instead, representatives from dozens of species sat in a circle, equals, no one above anyone else. Ambassador Yuna stood at the center. She wore the same gray suit she had worn 3 months ago when the council had voted to destroy Earth. But everything had changed since then. "We gather today not as conquerors and conquered," Yuna began, "but as species who have learned a hard lesson. Power without accountability leads to tyranny. Strength without compassion leads to cruelty. The old council forgot this. They believed might made right. They were wrong." She gestured to a screen that showed images. Pictures of freed slaves, of rebuilt worlds, of species working together. "Humanity did not come to your worlds to rule you. We came to offer you a choice, and you chose freedom. Now we must build something that ensures this never happens again. A true federation, where all voices matter, where disputes are resolved through dialogue, where younger species are protected, not eliminated." An ambassador from a crystalline species asked, "And if a member species becomes like the old council?" "Becomes like the old council. Then the other members have the right and responsibility to stop them," Yuna answered. "Including stopping humanity, if we ever forget the lessons we learned. This federation only works if everyone agrees to follow the same rules. No exceptions. Not even for us." It was debated for hours. Some species were still angry at the council. Others were afraid of the future. But slowly, consensus formed. A new government would be created. Democratic, fair, with laws that applied equally to everyone. Dr. Hana presented evidence during the debates. She showed videos recovered from the Martian ruins. The ancient civilization that had left the warning had been destroyed by a council, much like the one that had just fallen. They had been eliminated because they dared to question the older species' authority. The message they left was clear, Hana explained. This cycle repeats throughout history. Old powers fear new ones. They try to destroy them before they become threats. But this cycle can be broken. Not by eliminating the threat, but by changing the system that creates the fear. War Master Kryn, now a prisoner awaiting trial, watched the proceedings from his cell. He saw species that had once feared the council, now speaking freely. Saw humans working alongside aliens they had fought weeks ago. Saw a future that he had never imagined possible. A guard, one of Nari's people from the mining colony, brought him food. Kryn looked at her. You fought for this? For a democracy that might fail? That might tear itself apart? Nari smiled. We fought for the chance to fail on our own terms. The council never gave us that. They controlled everything. At least now. If things go wrong, it will be our choice, our responsibility. That is worth fighting for. Kryn said nothing. But he understood. The council had ruled through fear and control. Humanity offered something different. Hope. The chance to choose. And that was more powerful than any weapon. Over the following weeks, the trials began. Velthar and his council members stood before a court made up of judges from multiple species. They were charged with war crimes, genocide, and crimes against sentient species. The evidence was overwhelming. Thousands of years of oppression. Billions of lives destroyed or enslaved. Admiral Day testified. Captain Jun testified. Commander Tay testified. They spoke of the attack on Earth, of the civilians killed, of the terror that humanity had felt, but they also spoke of the system that had created leaders like Velthar. A system that rewarded cruelty and punished compassion. Velthar was found guilty. But his sentence was not death. Instead, he would spend the rest of his life working to rebuild worlds the Council had destroyed, to face the species he had oppressed and hear their stories, to understand the pain he had caused. Death would be too easy, Yuna said when asked about the sentence. He must live with what he did, must spend every day trying to repair the damage. That is real justice. 6 months after the war began, a ceremony was held on Viridian Prime. The planet had been renamed. It was now Unity Station, capital of the new Galactic Federation. Representatives from 70 species gathered, including the original Council species who had agreed to join under the new democratic system. Admiral Day stood with his officers as the new charter was signed. The document guaranteed rights for all sentient beings, prohibited slavery, genocide, and aggressive expansion, created a system of mutual defense where members would protect each other, established courts to handle disputes fairly. Captain Jun had been offered a position as the Federation's military commander. He had accepted on the condition that the military would be used only for defense, never for conquest. Commander Tay worked on establishing training programs where species could share knowledge and tactics. Lieutenant Han became an instructor, teaching pilots from dozens of worlds. Captain Sung led the new intelligence service, ensuring threats were identified early but never acted on without evidence and due process. Engineer Mina's quantum communication network became the backbone of the new Federation. Every member species had access to instant communication across any distance. Information flowed freely. Lies and propaganda could not survive when truth was just a transmission away. Dr. Sora's medical enhancements were shared with all species, not as weapons, but as ways to improve health and extend lives. The technology that had made human soldiers nearly unstoppable now helped alien children survive diseases that had once been fatal. Dr. Hana continued studying the Martian ruins. She found more messages, more warnings, but also hope. The ancient civilization had left behind not just weapons, but knowledge, philosophy, art, They wanted their successors to be better than they had been. One day, Hana discovered a final message hidden deep in the ruins database. It was addressed, "To whoever finds this." She read it aloud to a gathering of scientists from multiple species. We failed. We reached the stars and thought ourselves gods. We built weapons that could crack worlds. We created an empire that spanned galaxies. And we lost ourselves. We forgot that power is not the same as wisdom. That strength is not the same as justice. By the time we remembered, it was too late. An older civilization, one we had dismissed as primitive, rose up and destroyed us. We deserved it. Now we are gone. But we leave this message for whoever comes next. Learn from our mistakes. Be stronger than we were. Not in weapons, not in ships, but in character, in compassion, in the courage to admit when you are wrong, and the strength to change. If you can do this, you will achieve what we could not. You will build something that lasts. Something worth building. Hana finished reading. The room was silent. Then someone, a reptilian scientist from a species that had once served the council, spoke. They were talking about humanity. About this moment, they knew someone would find their message and use it to change the galaxy. Maybe, Hana said. Or maybe they hoped. Hope is a powerful thing. It kept us alive when the council attacked. It made us fight not just to survive, but to build something better. Ambassador Yuna's final act before stepping down from her position was to give a speech. She stood before the Federation Assembly, looking at the faces of beings from across the stars. 3 months ago, the Galactic Council witnessed Earth's revenge, she said. They saw our ships, our weapons, our power, and they realized too late why they should never have attacked us. But that is not the lesson I hope the galaxy learns. The real lesson is this. Humanity was not strong because of our technology. We were strong because we remembered what it felt like to be weak. We remembered oppression, slavery, war, and we decided never to become the thing that had hurt us. The council forgot that. They became the monster. We chose differently. And that choice, that decision to be better, to fight not for conquest but for freedom, that is what made us truly strong. She paused, looking around the chamber. Every species here has that same choice. Every day. We can use our power to dominate or to protect, to oppress or to liberate, to close our hands into fists or open them to help. The Federation only survives if we keep making the right choice. If we remember that strength without compassion is just another form of weakness. The assembly stood. Not just humans, but aliens of every type. They applauded. Not for humanity's victory in war, but for their victory in showing that another way was possible. On Earth, people celebrated. Cities that had burned were being rebuilt. Families that had lost loved ones mourned, but also felt pride. Their sacrifice had not been in vain. Humanity had not just survived, they had changed the galaxy. Admiral Day retired to a small house overlooking the ocean. He spent his days fishing and thinking. Sometimes, former crew members visited. They would sit with him, watching the sunset, and remember the war, remember the fear, the loss, the victories, and they would be grateful that it was over. One evening, Wu visited and asked, "Do you think the Federation will last? Or will it fall like the Council did?" Day thought for a long moment. Nothing lasts forever. But if we teach each generation what we learned, if we remember that power must be earned through service, not taken through force, maybe it will last long enough to make a difference. In the end, the story of Earth's revenge became a legend told across the galaxy. But the true story was not about revenge at all. It was about justice, about a young species that had been pushed to the edge and, instead of falling into darkness, had chosen to bring light. They had been attacked by those who feared them, and they had responded not by becoming like their attackers, but by showing there was a better way. The Galactic Council had witnessed Earth's revenge. But what they saw was not destruction for its own sake. It was the birth of something new. A federation built on hope instead of fear, on cooperation instead of domination, on the idea that all species, young and old, big and small, deserved the chance to reach for the stars without being crushed by those who got there first. And perhaps that was the most powerful weapon humanity had ever created. Not quantum drives or gravity weapons or stealth ships, but the simple, radical idea that the strong should protect the weak. That power should serve justice. That the future did not have to repeat the mistakes of the past. The galaxy would never forget the day humanity showed them what true strength looked like. Not in the fury of battle, though that had been impressive, but in the mercy after victory. In building when they could have destroyed. In freeing when they could have conquered. In choosing hope when revenge would have been so much easier. That was the real lesson the Council learned too late. And it was the lesson that would guide the galaxy forward into a new age. An age where being human meant something more than just coming from Earth. It meant standing for something. Fighting for something. Building something worth leaving behind. And across the stars, in 1,000 languages, beings told the story, not of Earth's revenge, but of Earth's gift. The gift of showing that even in darkness, even in war, even when everything seems lost, there is always a choice. And sometimes, the choice to be better is the greatest victory of all.